Are these yours?
What's this? Do I look like Bridget Jones?
Debbie, thanks.
So I wanted to speak about the shelter stabbing aftermath. I was trying to. I was starting a live stream an hour ago, but then I had to go do something.
And only one life to live it in, which starts today. Well, you know what? If you did rape her, I hope it goes.
I was going to call it "What Does Garth Mean?" because I had this odd occurrence a few nights back where Garth got up
Okay, yeah.
vigorously asserting that I would be stabbed by a lifeboat client.
DNA results today. Yeah.
And to contextualize it took me some time to process this. Our last few conversations included Garth saying, anyone who gets in the way of Ozark, Iraq, is going to have to deal with me. I will put my body in the line. You know, in this her surly kind of a veteran combat vet, gnarly dude. I mean, he tells me like they would do stuff in war to make it look like the mafia did it, like messed up stuff. And he was down in Nicaragua, I think 79. So I was like a 2-year-old baby. I love talking to ancient combat vets. I mean, whoa, he tells some crazy stories. He knows a lot about the Iran-Contra stuff because he was like a kid. He did military contractor after he did military. He was in Rhodesia. He killed a lot of people. Okay. So contextually, yeah, he's the military veteran who's willing to put himself in the harm's way to protect the shelter site, but he won't protect their adherence to non-discrimination laws. So that little safety check about making sure your nuts and bolts of your operation are squared away is over his head. So I had shown him the website for Bureau of Labor and Industries and shown that anyone can make a civil rights complaint if they are a victim of discrimination. I'm sewing. I love sewing. It looks cool. I'm so irritated. I think a tent might have just gotten stolen. I was rescuing a tent to dry out for a friend. I've been actually rescuing homeless messes all morning since like 4 a.m. But yeah, so Garth was like, "You're gonna get stabbed. There's 60." He called them MFers. He called them meth heads. He called them methed up. And I don't think that's in Ozark or Rack's playbook to necessarily, I mean, he'll call it low barrier, but he's not going to openly advertise, we got 60 psychotic meth heads. And I was like, don't you mean 20 or 30? There aren't really that many people that go to this. Not at any one given time. So I think that might be beyond fire marshal capacity anyway. So my friend Jack, who lives in Centralia, is also a vet who also likes karaoke. Texts Garth to like find out whatever do you mean. And his takeaway is, well, it sounds like there's a serious threat. It sounds like Ozark is going to try to amp up one of his cohorts, cult members, whatever you call them, apostles, to knife you. And Garth's opinion is that they would have a life upgrade if they went to jail. And so why not knife Mary and me? And the way that Garth was doing his little spiel at me, besides running back and forth, kind of like a tortured animal, I don't know why we had to do this like skittish running thing in front of me, but he was saying like, "Oh, woman, you could go in your apartment. Woman, you've been out here running around." He basically was saying, I was essentially bringing food to my homeless friend, and he's like pointing at the food articles that I'm retrieving, and like, "You're just running around here." I'm filling an empty belly, you know, like actually like helping someone who's hungry and hurting. Oh man. And when I brought up the disabled woman who got kicked out for urinary incontinence and mobility issues,
You're a specialist.
he's just like, she's a C word. And I'm like, no, that's not how disability rights works, is you don't get
You ever meet a victim
one
like that?
senile old man getting to like invalidate your rights by virtue of prejudice. So, I mean, how to cram this all into 3 minutes for city council? It's just impossible. Evidently, Officer Barry is aware there is an idea to have a women's center for women who either don't feel safe at Lifeboat, would never have ever felt safe anyway, would never go there. And then there's this idea, okay? There's an idea of it. And it's already getting to be like a bunch of pressure in my mind because I brought it up to Aaron a year ago. I was like, why couldn't we just have a women's center? If you're always going to cater to these like violent dudes, where are the women going to feel safe? Oh my God, Antonio. Hello, Mary. I usually don't look at chat because usually it's someone who I think I blocked. So let me see. What am I explaining? I am explaining why the soup kitchen discriminates against disabled people in Astoria, Oregon, and women, and people in wheelchairs, and elderly women, and whoever the reigning fascist wants to discriminate against. And it is so frustrating because his minion threatened that I'm going to be knifed because I dared report this discrimination. I dared stand up for the rights of the disabled who are being they're being discriminated against in so many ways, including my gay friend was cornered in the restroom, harassed and kicked out. Numerous people, including domestic abuse victims as well as sexual assault survivors, get kicked out because the honor crime of the betraying the honor of the abuser is considered a worse crime than being assaulted. So I made the crime of reporting inappropriate conduct, sexual innuendo from the director, assaults from his clients, some of them sexual, some of them gender-based assaults. And so then he therefore wants to like drum up some fake charges, basically saying, oh, well, you're not allowed to do the clothing drive, even though his chick was like, yeah, well, I need your help with that, and please help with the clothing closet. And what was so sad is I told the clothing companies that this guy kicks people out a lot. And so he wants to say, you're calling the clothing companies in our name trying to get donations. I was like, well, no, actually, I'm snitching to the clothing companies that there are homeless people who can't get boots, who can't get jackets because you discriminate against them. So he made up this like weird gotcha moment where he's like, basically he is doing what he is accusing or implying that I'm doing, which is he's harvesting all the donations, keeping them all to himself, only giving them to his select friends and cronies. He's got a little patronage network. And I, a low-income person, do not get a free pair of boots or jogging pants or whatever. And furthermore, I get threatened with fake charges. And I get a slew of verbal abuse and defamation all around town. But I think the story is getting so old that enough people have been verbally abused, trash talked, threatened. So inadvertent threats that I was threatened to be knifed for daring to report this misconduct.
It's the 21st century, yeah.
That I think word is on the street a bit more. Like people are like, this is getting old because these tactics, maybe they work. That maybe Kirk Wintermute is going to be like, oh yeah, well, I mean, the thing is they didn't let us know how fresh this person was out of the crime world and the mentality, the paranoia. Wow. So I'm watching a British drama channel. It's this like rare, what does it say? Something like Joseph's rare British, I don't know, overly melodramatic British dramas. And I'm sewing old pairs of blue jeans into like a wrap skirt, which is so cool. It's like, I've been working on it all morning since like 8:30. Yeah, I was upset about losing this tent, but I also don't want to store it. I don't know what shape it's in. It looked kind of old and grungy. I don't even know if my friend came and picked it up. Maybe it's in fine custody. But yeah, out of an abundance of caution, supposing Garth is right and there are 60 meth heads of Astoria, 60 preposterous number of methods about to stab me, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I have to report this to the chief of police, who's like still new to town. He's still like, huh? What? He sent it to Sergeant Litwin, and Litwin, being more adopted to Pacific Northwest, he's all like, going to tend to believe this is just a free speech to say absurd things kind of issue, or a super exaggerating kind of guy issue. And I told him I wanted it to be out of an abundance of caution, that, you know, if something weird happens, don't say I didn't warn you. And I took it to be Garth making a threat towards me, that he thought I would follow. I would suddenly crawl under the rock, like, be like, oh, Garth says I'm gonna be knifed, I'm gonna hide under. I'm like, Garth, you don't have the courage to stand up to your cult leader, okay? You were a coward. I don't care if you did good work as a soldier, but currently, as a 63-year-old divorcee, beholden to this organization fed Garth for one reason. He's a white male, okay? They fed him. They would not turn him away, even if he was out on the street beating people up, which I know for a fact he was, even if he's a former coke dealer or half murderer. I mean, he basically beat someone almost to death as a 16-year-old for messing with his sister. He was that kind of guy. That I will beat you to death if you mess with my. So the dude is disabled, hanging on by a thread for like 7 years, and then he dies. So he said he got into the service to avoid going to prison for his teenage coke dealing stuff for like bigger honchos in Detroit. And so now he's talking to me like a former drug dealer. He said he did mafia shit with Brazzulli in New York City that he can't even tell me what it is. And I think this might all boil down to a crush. I mentioned to Sergeant Litwin that I think this might just be Garth's way of flirting. I mentioned this to Jack too, that he's trying to be so hyperbolic, like, oh, you're so in danger because all the violent meth heads want to come and knife you. Oh, please save me, Garth. Like trying to like induce some infantilizing or like submissive feminine protection role for him. And Brazzulli was like, okay, he's got like kind of brain injury stuff from his motorcycle accident, but he also will talk about, well, then I was in a blackout as I'm been told I was attacking the guy who was attacking the bartender. So I don't know that Garth isn't going to go into that blackout, and he was threatening to murder my homosexual friend for Valentine's Day, which he's just has his sudden aggression things. And I've been told he has, how do you say it, gets kind of rapey on unconscious women, okay? So Garth has been my sort of chit-chat at the bar friend a little bit for like 2 months barely, and it's not going very well if he's threatening to have me knifed or get me knifed, or he's not doing anything to stop the knifing. So, but if you look at it as this is a psychological side effect of the shelter stabbing, is that people are flying into like crazy amounts of like sort of paranoia about the concept of anyone getting knifed. Freaking Garth carries knives. He carries machetes. So I think in a way, yeah, it is dangerous living in a meth-infused climate like Astoria, with a lot of street homelessness and no adequate shelter response. I argue that the soup kitchen being used in such a discriminatory manner is making the safety crisis worse. The safety crisis at the shelter didn't have to happen, but through bad management and a cascade of horrible decisions, that pushed out all the sensible and kind people in preference to patriarchal dominance, funding crisis, and then just general Astoria hostility to the homeless, which is pretty remarkable.
You know the deal. She claims she's a rape victim. She gets anonymity. I don't get that privilege. And my name is out there accused of rape for all to see. I'm a doctor. I need to clear my name. I want to see that woman stand trial.
So I took it that Garth was doing kind of this, like, I'm going to threaten you, but then it's going to look like I'm not threatening you, but I'm just warning you. But he's the one doing the threat. Nobody else is talking about knifing me, just Garth. And I mean, I was kind of like, whoa, is this why your marriage went south? You're like really condescending and misogynistic. He's never treated me like that. And it was kind of like a new thing. And I think it's because Ozark's at some kind of like crescendo of hatred to me that he might be amping the guys up to corner me. Like Griffin was like,
Maria?
hey Mary, I used to like you. But it seems like all you do is talk shit. I don't like you anymore. And then he walked away, and we've been cool ever since, but he looked like he was about to cry. And
So threatening.
like, I kind of think part of the problem too with Garth is
You've got this poor kid.
the bravado it's taken to like
I keep thinking,
question authority. Literally, man after man after man that I speak to, I can't do anything, or Ozark won't give me a meal. I can't complain. They're all completely emasculated by Ozark's aggressive meal denial as the criteria for like, you get meal denial if you speak out against the cult of silence around Ozark being mean to people. So Ozark is trying to silence all the witnesses through intimidating them through meal denial and extorting their silence through meals and resources and free boot, free swag from Helly Hansen or Columbia or Danner or wherever all this good swag is coming from. Ozark has a huge amount of swag, huge amount of Astoria Co-op vegetables, and Astoria Co-op is being played to promote discriminatory treatment of low-income, disabled, homeless. It makes me sick. This has been going on for a while. Will Clatsop County keep funding it? That's maybe a big question. There's been murmuring that the new government in city council is pretty much over Lifeboat. They're going to have to have it removed. They're just like sick of the way it's turned downtown into Skid Row and made it super creepy and violent and drug afflicted. So there's talk of that. I assume the new police chief might be on board for some of that. When I talked to Sergeant Litwin, he seemed to kind of have this like, oh, but we just want the homeless to be able to go about doing their thing and getting their meal. And I understand that nice liberal humanitarian sentiment. Well, if I become homeless, I don't get a meal because Ozark's mad at me for reporting his sexual innuendo over a year ago. It was reported to me. I reported it May 19th. Okay, so we're coming up on a year. 365 official days of starvation punishment to punish me for reporting.
My name is Marquez is taking a condom I've used with my partner, Beth Ansel, from my bin, and then just
The homeless
the contents of that condom into her under.
soup kitchen
Thank you.
dude who basically impregnated Aaron Carlson when he was homeless, when he was still dealing meth, and then took over her job so she could become pregnant. And that itself, I mean, Sierra pointed out to me, was a boundary violation. It was an abuse of power. So his whole gig started with that. I mean, I tended to see Ozark as the victim of a power imbalance. And his unhappiness he takes out on all his customers is possible evidence of that. So him going around calling me predatory, it's like, maybe you have a different predator in your life, because I didn't like force you into 20 years of child support or I don't know,
I'm going to suggest that you were a
sleep with you when you were
complex,
homeless or whatever.
Pennywise,
Or to me,
arrangement
it's kind of
in summer
abusive
2003.
to give
At the
him
very
this
least,
task of
was your personal life
managing
not
the
based
soup
on a
kitchen
tissue of
when
lies
he's
and deceptions towards people
incapable
you
of being
claim to
nice.
love?
He does not play well with others. He's a
Wasn't based
grumpy
on
and
that.
grouchy man
It
who
was a very
picks
difficult
on
time.
the weak. He picks on
Constant
women.
nightmare. It was the most unpleasant
Wow.
and difficult
So,
to describe
I guess-
experience in the world.
I'm supposed to
I'm
sit
just
back and do
giving Dan
nothing? No,
one
I'm
little
supposed
question of
to
your honesty.
I'm essentially an honest
Um,
person.
possibly.
Let him finish.
I regret the way things turned out.
Nicole Maki said,
I'm completely confident
Just
that we would have been married.
keep
had
doing
they
what you're
spoken
doing,
myself.
but less loudly. And then Lucy's like, well,
You're very
I'm
happy
talking about the anorexia aspects of Ozark's
People might
meal
say
denial
the
for women.
old-fashioned way,
Okay, say you
that
have a
man is
history of
invalid.
anorexia or bulimia, and then you have this controlling maniac doing the sexual harassment. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute, the sexual harassment's not cool. And then he's like, no food for you. What kind of cascade of eating disorder is Erin Carlson trying to stoke in her supposedly like mental health nonprofit of Beacon Clubhouse? You're going to let a tyrannical man but sexually harass your clients, and if anyone speaks up, they get denied food? What is this, the Dark Ages? Like Stalinism? That is so creepy and cruel. And Erin defended the meal denial when I spoke with her about it. She gets really like, she equivocates in this like blasé kind of pothead personality. Like, oh yeah, well, we're trying to do the best we can to let people get their meals, but you know, sometimes. And I'm like, well, I'm not in any way a danger to your customers or your clients. I'm a danger to Ozark getting away with abusing your clients. That's where I'm the danger. So painting me as this big danger to your clients to deny me meals, like, since when was anything that vegan? Occasionally there would be a salad that was somewhat vegan and somewhat not rotted, okay? So it wasn't like I had a huge source of food there. Oh yeah, stale bread that broke my teeth and caused me huge amounts of
Standing here, I would obviously seem very strong.
dentist expense.
Inside, I was a wreck and a shell.
Without wishing to dwell on it for more than a moment. or
So I
two,
hated that I dwell on this, and I had like a nightmare
How
2 nights ago that
feel
Ozark was
the
harassing
animals?
Viviana Matthews. And I guess in a way that
At one
nightmare
point,
was
I
like,
actually contemplated
well, somebody's going to
suicide.
believe me, because if he keeps
When they
acting this way,
threatened
but I
to
mean,
kill your
hopefully
family,
he's acting better. Hopefully
you
they're
have
getting
taken
it together.
everything
I saw
away from you.
Ozark chilling with
You have nothing
Monkey
left to give.
at
There
the
is nowhere else to go.
gas station outside of town, and Monkey I pretty much called
just
out
happened to
for
be at
brandishing a
one
dildo
place,
at me,
the wrong
and he was
time,
shooting meth into my friend's
dating
arm in
the
the
wrong person.
men's room,
It
the
is
park men's
the
room,
worst
like a
idea
year
ever.
ago. So Monkey's come a long way. He's no
It
longer
is
shooting dope into
living
the
hell.
arm of my gay friend who Garth
If
wants to
you
murder currently,
know your
or
enemy,
did
you can do
a few
something
weeks
about
ago.
it.
And I was like, Garth, how can we really even talk? I mean, like, should I read the text? It was sick.
Nasty,
Let's read Garth's
vindictive,
creepy text.
evil,
You
personal
know, and I was like, do I need to send this
I
to
thought
someone?
that
I think just putting it
maybe
out there that Garth has had
that
this
they
like
could have stopped
homicidal
it.
overture. For one thing, I'm like, don't put
couldn't be had anymore.
weird homicidal messages on my phone, okay? But he goes, I want to kill that son of a bitch, and cameras everywhere, and go into a deeper, darker part of hell for one more. And then I was like, hey, don't put any incriminating information in text, Garth. That puts me in a weird position legally. Then he goes, fuck. And I was like, Garth, you have severe PTSD. I love being your friend. Thank you for trusting me. I have PTSD too. Thank you for trusting me and being my friend. And then, okay, so that's, when was he threatening to murder Bobby? Was, sorry, Bobby, February 15th.
Scripted it better myself. But
Okay.
in my case, because of the witness box, I best shot it through my
Well,
line.
and this is supposedly to defend the honor of a woman who says that Garth was sexually
Your full name.
non-consensual with her when she was unconscious. So like,
And
surprise,
what's the
Garth.
character
Yeah,
arc
you're
of them
willing
being
to
in
commit a
any
murder
kind of
for her,
trouble,
but
at
she's
least before?
basically saying you're pretty
Yes,
rapey.
that is correct.
So
In
like the ladies are
2002,
like linking
have an
up, and oh my
infatuation with
gosh,
the
the like
No,
intelligence
I
we're
know.
gathering is wild.
Now take your time because it's an
Um,
important question.
So like,
When you were first
I gotta
asked
put this out
questions on
there.
the 6th of September
I am
about
very
the alleged
troubled
harassment,
by Mark
were you
Spurlock
completely
telling
honest
me
with the police?
Ozark almost raped his girlfriend.
No.
When they were both homeless, Ozark's like
Look,
ripping at her
business,
pants, saying,
and
"You want to see a
I'm
magic
sure
trick?"
it's
And she's
She's
begging
all
her
about
boyfriend to
him.
come back and like save her.
Yes.
And he's the first time he told me, he was like, I like was like, "You're gonna get out of this tent, or I'm gonna drag your ass out of here, or beat you, or something." And then the next time he was like, I kicked his ass. And I don't know how much he can say of what happened. Another weird Ozark story I heard is when he was giving meth to some chick's boyfriend, who she didn't want her boyfriend to be on meth anymore. He was detoxing. She just punched him out cold till he was like unconscious and had a seizure. And I mean, if that's what he means by predatory, or like the woman he, when Ozark was stealing the Pomeranian care dog in Gresham, in the police report, he called her a drugged up B word. And so, I mean, like, Ozark hasn't called me a drugged up B word to the harbor. He's only called me predatory. And I think that I actually went back and watched like a whole bunch of my YouTubes, and evidently that was like my word du jour. And I'm like, wow, you're so influenced by my language, my linguistic drift. But so
Do you
Yeah.
have an answer you wish to give?
it really sucks because I wasn't gonna go there anyway, just to avoid. I mean, oh yeah, I was thinking I should like list off all the creepy things I could remember. I even have a list somewhere. But, like Jimmy was like,
That is correct.
You understand? You're not.
what did you say? He said I'll punch you in the face. Jimmy said that.
I'm sorry.
I called it in. Jimmy one day said he wanted to give me like a naked body rub, and I was like, nah. Jimmy one day he's taken off his shirt at the Surging Waves Park, and he's like playing with his nipple and like coming at me, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Monkey's like brandishing a giant dildo at the park. Zach's sexually harassing me at the park, and that's when Monkey wants to jump in on it.
Well, hey, Greg.
Monkey now works for Ozark. I'm thrilled Monkey's off meth. I hope he's off meth. Let's cross his fingers he's off meth. I first met Monkey when he was trying to beat up George.
I want to look to the mouthpiece to see if
So I'm like,
help the jury.
yeah, I don't really feel that safe.
Supposedly took place.
I mean, he's got a sweet side, but he's also got a really crazy side. I totally thought it was homoerotic. I was like, whoa, you're bromancing hard, man.
19th.
And then, what
Yes.
else?
So there are 18 evenings, aren't there, that are potential candidates.
Yes.
And if one were
The
to
women get
write
driven
down
out of
numbers,
town.
1 to 18,
And
today's
so
we
the
can
witnesses
cross
are
up
disappearing
First,
to
third,
this
7th,
mayhem
8th, 9th,
going on down there.
10th.
It's just
12th,
really behind the
13th,
times, and it's
15th,
really, really hard
16th.
to accept
And the 17th.
that there are no disability
know
rights at
the
Lifeboat,
nursing
and there are
homes and
no
travel.
women's rights
Those
at
are the
Lifeboat,
days that your friend
and there are
was
no
not there.
protections for gay, lesbian,
Yes.
and that there's
We can
unlimited
rule out
bullying.
the 18th
from the
because you agreed that.
director.
And the 2nd, because it was a Sunday and Dr. Cosley wasn't working
I don't
on
know when
Sunday.
he
Come.
got out of prison for his
Yes.
We
burglary
can
or
also
whatever he
rule out
got
the 6th,
charged
because
with, like
you went
felony
to the doctor
firearms
to get the
burglary or
passport
something.
done.
Yes.
Which means we can also rule
But
out
I
the
don't
4th
know
or the 5th,
if he
because
has
according to your own
the
account,
right
you didn't
mentality
leave the house for
to
3
be
days.
around people that might feel unsafe around somebody
cannot give
who's
you a date
into firearms.
because I just
And
also keep diaries.
There's only
meth
1 day
dealing?
left in June, when this
my
could be
understanding is he's giving
theoretically
like a huge
happen,
cover
and
to the
that's
meth operation down there.
the 11th.
But what's worse is that the fentanyl, I think.
I
I
was
think the
going to
fentanyl's
see
worse
today.
now.
And on the 11th of June, page 1286, if anybody wants to look at it, your friend was on Dave, and it says he went
Oh,
out again for
our
his
friend
daily
is going to detox.
and came
Isn't that
back
cool?
after supper.
So exciting. He was like, I almost died off fentanyl. And it's like, yeah, dude.
So we can see in all
He's so cute,
Reality.
too. He's really cute.
there's
it would
no
be
doubt
nice
that
if he
the
could
June
make
on
it.
which this rape could have taken place.
He's like barely 25.
The
He's like,
doctor has
you know,
read
just
enough.
where the brain starts becoming an
Another way
adult
of
brain.
getting this
Maybe he
condom,
can leave all this
as the
behind.
doctor has
It'd be
explained.
great.
I'm not lying. The doctor has rated me with the difference is that he is highly protected from each corner. I know that by the general medical council.
I kind of want to show you what I'm working on, but it's like, it's kind of like embarrassing. So this day, Diana took this picture of me in this great fringe jacket. It was like a blue jean jacket with fringe. It really did make me kind of love
He's very
jean,
clear by all
the like
hasn't
frosted blue. So let's see.
He is not clear. He's the man that
Nice.
life has
Oh yeah, so the Astoria shelter stabbing, I see Garth's big tirade as being kind of like a delayed trauma response. Even though he wasn't there, he knows the dude. We all know the dude who did the stabbing. And it's completely screwed the homeless over. So if there was any preventative, like emergency training,
Yes.
So,
what's a
like,
sustain?
it's crazy. It's like blue jean. It's like a blue jean wrap skirt. So I've been working on this part, like to make it like a wrap skirt. So it's like latent femininity is so gnarly. Or it could just be a cape. I've been experimenting with all the different ways to make it like a blue jean blanket cape poncho. But like kind of more fun than knitting because I've been knitting so much, but like sewing is like way different than knitting, but similar. So yeah, this knifing thing, basically all the homeless were booted out. Like it's about February 3rd. They like met for dinner the next night at the shelter, and then the whole shelter was just like over.
9 years.
The whole thing was over.
9 years.
Oh,
Me and Doug are
I have
on.
2 needles,
She
and I'm
decided
like,
to
where
go
did
with
that
Bob's.
needle go?
Should get the tram shut. I still don't know what she really thought was going on.
Well, to me, she believes the
Don't
whole
know
thing.
these.
Completely delusional.
I don't want to hurt myself on it.
Right?
So, yeah, the stabbing thing is just like horrible. It's wretched. But 2 nights they opened up the armory, and then 2 more nights they opened up the armory, which was enough for the mass bourgeoisie to have the hypnosis that there was a warming shelter at the armory. But if they look carefully and read between the lines and talk to the actual homeless, they come to find out that there was only a tiny bit of coverage, which were those 4 days. So what should have been covered warming shelter the whole, you would argue the whole whatever. Just think it's inhumane, the lack of housing. It's so inefficient too, like washing and drying and wasting all this clothing all the time. It's like huge amount of clothing resources wasted on the fact that there's nowhere to keep your clothing dry in a wet climate. It's like reinventing the wheel all over again. So it's put a lot of pressure on a lot of people because the little guys like me catching up some slack for the lack of a shelter. What does that mean? Like extra outreach, late night snacks? What can I do? Bringing clothes, blankets, checking on people. See, I don't believe in copywriting filling empty bellies. That's kind of where Ozark's really off on a hilarious tangent, where he's acting like filling empty bellies is this thing that he owns now, that he is the executive of. And I'm like, nah, dude, that's a concept. That's like anonymous. That's like Food Not Bombs. It's a concept of filling empty bellies, feeding empty bellies. And where he got off on this tyrannical like ownership of the idea that he's the only one who's allowed to help the homeless, like in this monopoly sense. And he also extorts participation in his punishment strategies. So like people are told, you won't get a meal unless you jump in and help me starve so-and-so. And I'm that's sick. That is abuse of vulnerable people. The vulnerable people are told, if you give a meal to so-and-so, you will not get a meal. So they're like, Okay, whatever. Like they don't know what's going on until this like matches up and they keep hearing the same story over and over again and they see the same behavior. Ozark is obsessed with starving people. It is a weird fetish to have for someone who claims to be running a soup kitchen. But he's obsessed with using food denial as the punishment to get better behavior or make people go away or force them out of the city, which is what ends up happening is they leave Astoria. Once all that was dawning on me, I was like, whoa, he's a dirty cop. He's doing sweeps through services. So he claims to do services, but he actually is like left, right, like selecting who gets to stay, who gets to go. And if he puts a boycott or a blacklist or has a hatred on you and decides you're not worthy of a meal, if you're truly homeless and have nothing else, you are screwed. And that is, to me, that has been a lot of intimidation as a low income person who could be at any moment homeless. Oh, I don't have services in my community because the tyrannical dictator of filling empty bellies hates my guts because I call. All he needed to do was say, I'm sorry. He said, I'm sorry, see you tomorrow. Or you're right, I will work on that. Or that's a good point, I'm sorry you feel that way. He could have done something akin to that. And that would have been a lot better than this whole like, you're punished for life with eternal starvation. And furthermore, you get bullied on the street by, okay, Matt says, eat a dick. Garth says you're going to be knifed. Corey called me the B word and WHOR E word. Like, you know, okay, whatever. Jules used to call me the B word. Like, whatever, whoever's going to harass you. This is a crowd that is like very endemic. Verbal abuse is their coping skill because they're really struggling on a daily basis with addiction, poverty, horribly wet clothing, inadequate restroom situations. Oh my gosh, Astoria closing the restrooms at night kills me. Yeah, I know people will go smoke fentanyl in the restroom all night long. They will. So we've got to have a workaround. Like, our bodies don't stop just because you locked the restroom door. I was thinking of doing like a performance art piece. I don't think I'm going to get my message across, but it was just an idea to get buckets and put around town homeless nighttime toilet or like something in big Sharpie where it becomes this installation to mock the fact that the city government acts like bodily functions stop because it's nighttime. And like, furthermore, do you really want a bunch of guys hiding behind bushes with their penises out to pee? I mean, that's putting women in this odd position. I mean, they're going to do it coming out of bars anyway, drunk and got to piss men. But it's just like all the public unsheltered urination. Oh, it's abysmal. I love Seaside for having a ton of restrooms, but I don't know that they keep them open all night. I think some of them they were keeping up late by the time the RV park developed up at the 12th Street prom area, where it became like the de facto trailer home restroom or something because it was practically like an RV park of homelessness on Nicanicum during COVID. So I don't know about that. So yeah, I'm pretty talked out. I was gonna show you my snack. So I'm watching all these old. I watched like probably like 3 movies 3 days in a row or something, or like sleep through half of them. Really don't pay attention to many of them. Oh, the one I saw, something Death on the Nile with Mia Farrow. It was very like. It was a what's that guy Poirot? It was the investigator Poirot. Yeah. Okay, this is good. Peanut, flaxseed. Yeah, it's really good. It just tastes like really good peanut butter, basically. It has flaxseed palm oil. So we're supposed to be upset about palm oil because it is deforesting, leading to deforestation to produce the palm oil. Okay. And I feel sad about this tent. I'm like still stressing about this tent. It's stressful living with poverty all around you. Like, I loved being in Sweden in a place where like housing was more prioritized and like humanity was more prioritized. Not to say there wasn't homelessness in Sweden, but just like generally there was the recognition that it's not just like something you could be complacent about. You could just be like chillaxed about massive amounts of homelessness. No, that would just be like, yeah. I have really sad and conflicted feelings about Kirk Wintermute. When I reached out to him because I heard he was on the board of Beacon Clubhouse or something, I was like, oh, you're on the board and oh, you have a law degree. You'll be like more professional. And then he wasn't. And I was like, what? You're a lawyer and you're acting like this? I understand Ozark is paranoid and inflammatory and character assassination mode, but that's why he has a board, is because he's not mentally with it enough to really be this executive director, homeless executive position that his baby mama put him in, probably just to justify a salary to raise a baby. So packing his little 50K away, denying everybody food and boots and supplies. So infuriating. So sad. And so then Kirk comes at me like he's completely drunk the Kool-Aid or something. And I'm all like, how is that even possible? But furthermore, how are you coming at me with no due process with all these like insane allegations created by a madman? Does that mean you're a madman too? Because I'm confused. Like, I thought you were a lawyer and I thought you just got promoted to be a judge. And I dare say Bo Peterson almost tried to smile at me one day. I was watching eviction courts in the courthouse and I studiously kept my eyes down towards my feet and my phone where I was watching a WebEx. And I feel like what I did with my protective order against Corey's creepy, like hand around the throat sexual predator business is kind of blew the whole whistle on Lifeboat, incidentally, in that proceeding, because it was sort of the vehicle through which I gained basically, I was avoiding a predator anyway at Lifeboat, a sexual predator, of which there are so many, right? Or like gender-based violence predator. Anyway, so why not just also blow the whistle? Because everybody had no guts to blow the whistle. So I knew it would be me. I didn't want it to be me. Just like I knew it would be me to have to record Ozark being abusive, at least on the phone, if not in person. And Steve, the old cop, he said we had to record him because nobody would believe us. But what I'm feeling is like, does the harbor get it? Or like, I feel like Kirk Wintermute's comprehension level was just like not really impressing me. But I think Bo knows what I'm up to. That's the vibe I get. And I liked Bo when he helped me deal with Benjamin's mental health problem, where he like attacked cops and attacked me several years ago. And I think Bo gets me that I'm basically this smart person that is like just above and beyond committed, like social activist who like really cares about, like back then, man, I was so idealistic before Ben attacked me. I was out to save his life and like make sure the cops didn't kill him and everything. And I think Bo maybe gets that about me, that I'm trying to establish structural change within a system. Maybe he even knows this system is out of date. Maybe he even knows something's wrong with Kirk Wintermute. Maybe he knows. I just don't know. I don't know him well enough to have like super mega hope and faith in him. But given that Judge McIntosh has been such a doozy lately, I've had to report her to the Judicial Commission twice. So I reported her twice. I reported Kirk Wintermute once to Judicial, once to Oregon State Bar. And then I reported Sean, what's his name? Stewart? No, Sean. What is his name? Palmeter? Oh, dreadful man. I'm thinking it's Sean. No, this is different. This is going way back in my memory bank. Oh God, I just really don't like him. That's why my mind is blanking out on him. Well, good. Okay, just stay blanked out. He was representing the property company who was like trying to block the disabled housing too. I'm just like, clearly you're aligned with Satan, sir. But so yeah, so he's like Joshua Stelmon. Was trying to from Idaho, and I'm like, well, you have a nice last name, sir. However, you're like Idaho misogyny is not. He did so many mixed metaphors. I was like, are you doing these to be funny? He was like, it's not like the lifeguard is just putting its head in the sand and pretending nothing's happening. I'm just like, oh, that's exactly what you're doing. But do boats put their head in sand? Or maybe beached boats put their heads in sand. I don't know. But do they really have heads? Like an ostrich? I don't know. It was such a mixed metaphor. It was cute. But anyway, Mr. Stillman, it was like Joshua Stillman was like negating the lived experience of homeless women. And I'm like, how many homeless women have you talked to this week? Do you actually know anything that's going on in their life? If I'm telling you in good faith, they're sick of their abusers taking up space, verbally abusing them, assaulting them, blah, 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 making them feel unsafe to get a meal. I'm telling you that because you should listen, because it's a concern, not because I need the voice of patriarchal authority to tell me everything you say is a lie. And he was like, we have investigated allegations of sexual harassment, misconduct from our clients and staff and found them to be baseless. And I was like, you know what? That's not actually even plausible. Like, humans mess up. And there's so much evidence of sexual harassment or harsh, gender-based violence and mistreatment that it's like not a very likely story that there's zero amounts of it. And if so, that makes you sound like a very out of touch person, that you don't know anything about what it's like for women on the streets. So therefore you're highly inappropriate to have anything to do with overseeing how their services are allocated. If you're just gonna be a GBV denier, gender-based violence denier, okay, that means you're unqualified, sir. Well, and he scurried away after realizing whatever, he was not being paid enough to deal with me. But I think Ozark should sue me. I don't think it's a good idea to put little Kenny Hansen up to the task of getting in the middle of the labor department retaliation. I think Kenny was smart enough to be like, so wait a minute, you have the labor department investigating Ozark, so now he wants you investigated for recording him bad-mouthing you to the domestic violence agency. And I'm on speakerphone. And then Kenny's assertion was, well, you weren't a party to that call. And I'm like, no, it's a one-party recording state. I'm obviously the party because I have the safe advocate calling, because Ozark will try to sue me in civil court if I call him, right? Or, I'm just being extra safe by having an advocate, because clearly I should be able to be like, have you relaxed your boycott? Have you buried the hatchet, Ozark? And he'll be like, no, I got a bigger hatchet. So he wants to basically have me prosecuted for calling to see if he buried the hatchet, as he's threatening to have me prosecuted for trying to raise clothing for the homeless, which he asserts is a crime. Unless he does it, then it's not a crime, even though he won't share with anyone who's homeless or low income, unless they're way tight in his meth network. His misogyny network of knife-wielding motherfuckers, as Garth would call them. Woe is me. So, yeah, none of this makes much sense. I hope Antonio is doing something way more fun than listening to this podcast. This is way boring. The subject bores the hell out of me. And I would be rather over it had not the little thing come out last month. So early March comes the the paperwork on the investigation. And I'm like, come on, guys. Like, since when has Oregon ever been strong on anything? You know, they're just gonna like barely tap you on the wrist and be like, go in peace, my child. Don't be mean to disabled people anymore, Ozark. Ozark's not even probably gonna still get away with not even like stopping all the discrimination he's already done. I don't know. I think it's just going to get them in a fluster. So whoever is going to help them with their flustered, either that or I think they should non-response it. Just be like, talk to the hand, Labor Department, talk to the hand. That might actually work because I think when I caught this recording and then realized, oh my gosh, I need to send this to the investigator because he's confirming that he's discriminating, and you can see how like gnarly he is towards me. You can see that he's actively conspiring to continue retaliating, and he doesn't get retaliation as a problem. Is it really that hard of a concept? Why is retaliation considered okay in Clatsop County? Whistleblower retaliation is widely practiced here. It's so offensive. And like, I think Kenny was kind of like, it was almost like the prank was on him. Like, haha, now I get to treat you like a criminal, even though he's, helped Chris Duffy slink away after attacking me. So Kenny's all like wheeling and dealing for the Meals on Wheels groper dude of Seaside, giving him a softball interview. So now he's all like, and I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I see how you play, Kenny. You basically are really friendly to sex pests, but if a woman is fighting discrimination, you want her in jail? And he's like, but what you did is a crime. And I'm like, no, it's not. If I thought it were illegal, I wouldn't have done it. It's completely illegal to record phone conversations in Oregon. And then him saying, well, you weren't party to the conversation. The second it was on speaker, I absolutely was party. And it was the whole call, it was initiated by me for me. In that, I allege, okay, Ozark, sue me for violating your threat letter. Like, sending me a threat letter is not the same as having like even a signed NDA. But he's like, never contact me again. And I'm like, well, you still try to like get all these county services, so you basically need to quit discriminating. Hurry up in a minute. Sadly, well, I can like try to fix this amount of dysfunction. I'm trying to remember, there was similar dysfunction at Occupy. Like, these tyrannical, like beefy, scary dudes took over all the food and supposedly kind of stole it in Portland. Like, so Ozark takes over all the food and all the donations and basically steals them and deprives the homeless from having them in a reasonable manner and just is making a salary off it. Don't you wonder? I don't know. What's he doing with it all? I mean, even if they did close down Lifeboat, he'll probably have enough time to pack away a little money or credit for his baby. So I hope he can work it that far, but it does feel exploitative of the poor. And it feels exploitative of the concerns of the community to me too. And I think that's where, I think because they're so like adversarial towards trying to make it like a this or that, I don't think they can understand you can support the homeless and support the women of the community too, or support the idea of helping the homeless, but also want women to walk to their cars safely. Oh God, what a tedious subject. So I guess it's all rather fresh in my mind due to my March 9th phone call, my St. Patrick's Day interview. I would be like really impressed with Ron Brown if he tried to prosecute it. I'd be like, oh yeah, you want the whole like pony show of like Ozark's testifying like how aggrieved he was, how like this ruined his life or something. I'm like, no, you badmouth all your clients all over town. Everybody confirms you trash talk everybody all over town on the phone and elsewhere. And I think Jeff Daly said, oh, it's just a scare tactic. or it's BS. He was like, that's BS. Kenny looked a little too amused, and I think it's kind of like Kenny is actually not a neutral party. I was even thinking I should have Kenny recused because Kenny Henson, this cop, he's like the homeless liaison. So I always warned the ladies, you know, okay, you can be homeless and he can be all like friendly and nice and do a bunch of good cop stuff, like track down your sleeping bag or something, but he'll totally help your predator if you get assaulted. So he's not really good at women's crime stuff. So like, I warned them, but he gets to be all like the homeless liaison with CCA, and I'm all like, yeah, it's hard not to love Kenny. He's really sweet. He's friendly. He's just not good at crimes against women. He only understands it from the predator perspective, or like Barry, sweetheart Barry. Oh my God. So his story, like, yeah, we need some more lady cops. We need some training. I don't know, or maybe cops just aren't supposed to be right on women's issues. I don't know. It's really upsetting. I assume the new chief of police is not a moron. I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping that. But I think he's having this culture shock where this whole department's done their own thing with this other chief, and now it's kind of like a slight to them that they don't get to be chief. Like, why doesn't Kenny get to be chief? Well, because they want someone who's more of like a bureaucrat, or maybe trained in like federal law and responsibilities, or I don't know what it goes into making a chief, but the fact that this guy's like from the East Coast and the South is just like such a cultural blast. And I said this to Litwin. I was like, because he was like, I understand anybody, you know, and I'm like, well, I feel like a cultural similarity, that there's just like a chance that things like beautification and women feeling safe in their own town should be like a number one priority, not a last priority as per like Aaron Carlson and Ozark's vision for destroying Astoria. It's like caring for women's safety should be number one. Like, what? Women and children, family friendly. Okay, so that's Lisa, and she was against the Heritage Square thing. I was texting her about it all. I was texting Andrea. Oh my gosh, Andrea was so funny. Andrea's so smart. She said Ozark used to starve the people when she tried to work for Filling Empty Bellies. And he'd be like, no, that person doesn't get to eat. No, that person doesn't get to eat. And that's my Ozark Iraq impression, right? No food for him. If you feed them, you're getting no food either. Okay. So, colonizer mindset, starvation politics, whoa, really sick. And Andrew's like, what? She's like, okay, I'm going to buy stuff for them on my EBT card because you're going to starve them? Ozark, she's like, I can't work for you. I cannot stand the way you treat the homeless. You treat them with so much disrespect. And so where I was feeling a little betrayed is, why do all the people, okay, like Tim, he comes up to me on the street. He's like, as soon as Ozark started trying to take over their story warming shelter, I could have nothing more to do with it because he's so arrogant and so impossible to work with. And I'm like, yeah, okay, the lady at the thrift store. Oh, but he's so arrogant. I just found out he chased out another woman from the Astoria Women's Warming Center. He chased out Tracy. So he chased out Gigi, Tracy, and prevented me from joining the board because he's anti-Mary Yang. But he's also anti-Tracy and he's anti-Gigi. And he's anti-Vanessa, anti-Patty. He's mean to the lady at the team office. He's mean to the lady at the college food bank because there's just not enough women to chew out for this man, this little man. And why does Aaron put up with it? Well, here's the rumor. Some people are like, she's just as bad. And we want that not to be true. We want the old Aaron to come back, the one that we might trust. I feel like, well, were you just being fake with me when you were so nice to me? Because I don't get it. Why are you suddenly so cold? But it might take her 5 years to get out of this brand new marriage, or 20 years or something. Maybe she really loves him. And if so, that still doesn't mean she should overburden him with a job beyond his capabilities. And I see that overburdening as hurtful to the poor.
Yes, I did.
Like Monica's daughter said, Monica should just take it over. And I was like, yeah, totally. And I bet Monica, I don't know, once Ozark got disentangled, I doubt Monica would need to discriminate against me or see the reason to. She'd probably just be like, not inherently hostile by her nature. But I don't know, maybe Ozark will make a monster of her because she's sitting there letting all that happen. Maybe, okay, that could be my happy ending. Monica and Monkey can take over Filling Empty Bellies, restore peace and harmony by letting the actual vulnerable people come and not be hostile to input and not use starvation as a silencing method. And then, this is a crazy skirt. I'm going to see, this is so ridiculous. Can you believe this? It's really fun though. It's just like a quilt, basically, of denim scraps. I made a bag when I was a kid out of like a pair of blue jeans. And I think people would make fun of me because they look stupid. They look really stupid. But it's kind of really fun. You just have to be in the mood for denim. So I used part of an overalls and one pair of jeans that were way too small for me. And that's the trick. It's like, yeah, they were like 30, 32s. Yeah, so one day Filling Empty Bellies won't discriminate. One day they won't be anti-wheelchair. One day they'll do a blanket amnesty on all the people they kicked out or Ozark kicked out and let them all come back and eat in peace. And one day Cory Buck will say, that's more like my vision. No one is excluded. And one day, I've even thought Ozark could get a job at Home Depot. But then again, he'd probably be mean to everybody at Home Depot. So I don't really want them to suffer either. But I mean, like, I'm trying to think, how would he be happy? What would it take for him to find true happiness? It's a hard job taking care of all the homeless. I viewed it in so many different ways, but those ways changed. At first, I thought it was an activist thing. I was like, oh, okay, so you're going to put the soup kitchen right on the front street, and so therefore it's going to cause a lot of awareness of poverty. So I was like, whoa, that's really activist. Who would ever think to do that? I was like, that is very confrontational, and it's going to shake a lot of people up. And then I also viewed it as like, oh, they're not that bad. Like I was in that, they're not that bad. And I was like, here, I'll prove it. So I'm just going down there and being respectable and friendly and approachable. And I wasn't intending to gather as much information as because my goal was actually to provide respectability as sort of a cultural translator. Oh, it's okay. Don't freak out. Yep. These are nice, gentle, sweet homeless people. But as they, increasingly brawled and fought and harassed and did horrible things and assaulted each other, it was hard for me to sustain my own propaganda goal of putting a veneer on the soup kitchen for the benefit of eliminating prejudice against the poor. So they were making it hard. And I didn't know about Ozark's criminal history or drug dealing or guns or anything. Something somebody's told me has caused me to keep worrying that, oh no, did Ozark kill somebody? But like somebody got killed in a burglary that he was involved in because he was like a career burglar, like total gangster in Portland, Gresham or whatever. And the person who went to prison, Ozark snitched on, but isn't the right person or isn't the person who really did it, is like one of the stories I keep getting. And I'm like, so like, I get it, the whole ban the box thing where we're not supposed to discriminate against felons and like all the criminal type people, but like a whole city and county is gonna just plunk that right down in the middle of your town and like cross their fingers and throw a bunch of money at it. to me, I feel betrayed. I feel like if I had just been like, oh, by the way, he's kind of like a psycho meth head, meth dealer who's like accustomed to like pull shady shit like meth heads do, like preemptively call the cops to drum up fake shit on you to hide their own misdealings, then I would have been like, ah, why didn't you tell me? And I think that's where Erin, maybe she's kind of naive about meth too, or naive about her little 45-year-old baby daddy, 46-year-old baby daddy. He's like 6 months older than me. So I'm supposed to like respect Ozark because he's 6 months older than me. 6 months older than me? No, I don't think so. I sure didn't fry my brain up on meth. I've never smoked meth intentionally ever. The only time I've had meth intoxication, I would say, is from cleaning up after my friend's squalid meth flat, and I felt some of it in my body. And people tell me, oh, that's delusional, or that's a contact high, or that's not really significant. But that was enough for me, and it's messed up. It's a messed up situation. I never wanted to do meth. I took Sudafed pills 4 at a time sometimes. So I was a Sudafed junkie. It was as close as I got to meth. It was just like over-the-counter cold medicine. It's gross.
I'm going to live here.
Yeah, meth doesn't appeal to me. Oh yeah, so fentanyl. It's like everywhere now. I've seen certain people for 4 days and I'm like, did you die yet? That's what it's always this like, you're on fentanyl. Did you die yet? I don't know what's the death ratio. I mean, how many people can be successfully fentanyl addicts and then not die? Because I think they build up some tolerance, or certain people's bodies handle it differently. Okay, so that's kind of cute. I'm making this little ridge right here. See what I mean? And I mean, say a great tragedy. I've always thought, oh no, this staircase is going to be a great tragedy. Here's one. Stephen was punched down the staircase, my black friend, by the guy with the neo-Nazi tattoo. And then Katie Hansen wanted to get charges on the black man, right? For like being tipsy or getting into a kerfluffle. And cool beans enough, the little racist tattoo guy is all like, I don't talk to cops. So he's more like an anarchist like that. So I'm kind of like, okay, well, that worked out. And Stephen was like, thanks for telling me. And like the ODing person getting dragged up the staircase. How many times did I almost wipe out on the stairs? The stairs are like a death trap. Oh, cool, man. Okay, now I gotta fix this. I got a little more threading. So I've been doing this double threading today. So the movies have like taken the edge off all my drama because they just supply limitless drama. There's just been lots of spooky murders, and then also the time travel. Like even this one I think is 2009, but it's still so dated. Oh, my hair was like finally working out nice today. I think I did the right conditioner, the right amount of conditioner. It might just be the amount of humidity in the air, but like my hair, it's like more shampoo at the roots, more conditioner at the ends, but like it's this fine line. But like, so Kirk Wintermeat smiled at me twice, and I was like, I almost like flinch and like try to walk on the other side of the road as him. I'm just like, and then I'm like, but he hasn't physically attacked me, so can I handle being on the same side of the road as him? And then he's like smiled at me. One time he smiled probably because George was acting so funny at the courthouse, but I think it was just the moment where he like learned to get over like demonizing me and just be like, yeah, you don't have to come at me all aggro, dude. Or like I'm not falling for it. It's like they're trying to be like a TV lawyer or something. Like I'm trying to do my impression of the angry lawyer, and I'm like, nah. So now I'm back to the kitchen, yo. So I think the last time he kind of like tried to be in this awkward like, am I now like on smiling terms or something with me like on the street? Because there were 2 times that literally he'd see me and he'd almost like trip and fall over himself. And like this guy is huge. He's like built like a like a football player. He's like huge, intimidating, big like fraternity guy looking guy, and like he looked like he just almost like lost his footing because he saw me. And the very first time I think I saw him, he was picking up his judicial robes for becoming a judge. I think it was the day after I emailed the judicial fitness people. And at that time I was like, nah, I don't feel like we need to do the full judicial fitness thing, but letting him know that I know who you are and that if he does shady shit with me, I can report him, seemed to stop him from sending me personally harassing emails. It nipped it in the bud. But as things progressed, or as like the plot thickened, maybe when I found out Obi Babs was assaulted by Quentin, another assault being brushed under the rug, maybe that's when I tried to get, we can check the chronology of the hundreds of emails. You know, Rachel Mortimer at the Judicial Fitness Commission, she's so lovely. I really had a nice time talking with her. But she was like, it takes a while for judges to grow into their role. But like, coming at me with no due process was kind of like, I think it was like, it was a little bit like, I'm going to do this because I'm going to do it in silence and nobody's going to see me doing this in a dark hallway. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to email it to the state bar and to the judicial fitness. So actually you didn't get away with doing that, secretly bullying me. And it didn't even work. Because if I was intimidated, I wouldn't be sending it to the state bar or whatever. So it was kind of like, whoops, your little strategy didn't work exactly. And I think that, one of my theories was that it's just sort of gamey. Like, law culture is kind of gamey. It's like a little bit like a sports game or something. It's like very much like, okay, you win, whatever. Back to the drawing. I don't think it can ever be that way with McIntosh, though. I think she's a dreadfully bitter lady that is unable to understand nuance of consent at all, or lack of consent. Like, I think she's horrid for sexual abuse. Horrid. So just putting that out there, anyone in Clatsop County. I think, I mean, maybe if you have like, I don't know, I can't see her treating any victims fairly. Not even if you have a horrible on paper case. And that itself, it's like, oh yeah, you want the abuse to be how bad before you take it seriously? And like, for instance, in the Ben case, what I realized that was so terrible was that, no, they're not mad at him for assaulting me. They basically undercharged what he did to me. They're mad at him for assaulting the cop, which is what I filmed. So that's what they're actually mad at. They're not really helping me as a victim of gender-based violence. If they were, they would have been there already. But that, like, abandoning women to be femicided.
So good. You ought to try one.
I love that somebody cares. I know somebody cares. So I had Deutsche Welle going on mute, and then I have the computer has the old British movies. What are we watching? Town and Country, 2001. This isn't British. What the heck is this? This just started 39 minutes ago. I wanted to play all in one list of Joseph's rare British films. Okay, so I'll pick a different one. Joseph's rare British drama. Super. Caribbean Mystery, 1985. Oh, there's one from 1982. It was so funny. They kept consulting the computer. Sorry about how junky it is. I've been doing a lot of rearranging. Okay, this looks good. Caribbean Mystery, 1985, starring Helen Hayes. Ooh. Oh boy. Well, I've learned a lot about like even 1980s gender roles through these films. And then I feel like the nonstop drama is kind of a replacement for the tedium of day-to-day life. I'm enjoying it because I'm pretty much a news junkie, and all I pay attention to is just the latest news feed normally. So like switching back into watching dramas. I watched a lot of dramas in 2016, like British, BBC, whatever was on OPB at that time on the actual cable TV. That's what I watched, and they were so relaxing, and I get in this boring mood and just like stretch, and I just got this sudden craving to watch British drama. And then of course it's way too heavy on murder and mystery, and I'm like, not exactly craving murder, but this horrible one I saw, it was about the woman who basically finally understands, oh, the guy I married is actually a serial killer, and he eventually kills her. And it was from 1998 maybe, 96. Oh, it was so chilling. And it was definitely a great cautionary tale of how the normal, average, respectable kind of upper middle class fellow could just actually be that psychopath. I'm so hungry. I don't know what to eat today. I've been somewhat starving myself. I'm not skinny enough, but I do starve myself. And thanks to Ozark's anorexia program, I don't get to go down and have a plate of salad. And then I'm like, yeah, I actually eat lesser quality food in a way. If you consider salad, it might be good if it's not spoiled. So like the anti-feeding me program, I had the moral choice of covering up for him saying blue balls to the homeless women and just generally being rude to so many people, or getting salads. That's a pretty hard toss-up to put a feminist vegan through. It's like, yeah, I freaking love salad. I wish Erin Carlson would give me a salad Monday through Friday. Yeah. She could even come out and hand it to me like I'm a tiger in a cage, like a box salad. And I love that Corey never discriminated, ever, ever. Corey was not like this.
Oh my, how lovely.
I keep thinking of protest signs, and I can never the only one I really liked for a while was Free Aaron. But just thinking, if I just did please can I, it's like, I want a salad.
Thank you. I should let
I should just say, have a sign that says, I want a salad. I want a salad. I could probably get, actually, my soon to be proven to be also a psychopath friend, Steve, actually got me a really good salad at Silver Salmon one day. And we sat looking at the window, and I was pointing out all the homeless drama on the Skid Row block. And it was like, it was a really good salad. He wants me to hold on to his son's clothes. They've had this falling out. And I'm not their personal assistant, but I'm practically working like I am.
I'm his nurse, secretary, entertainment director, whatever he can think of. My name's Ruth Walters, and I'm Jane Marple. So nice to meet you.
Jane Marple. Well, I'm so excited this is going on really long. An hour and 20 minutes of boringness. So, I'm still sewing. No wonder I'm getting so hungry. It's like 1 25. So a year ago on Easter, I was having, I ran into the dweeby dude who does the website, and I was like, could you please take my picture off the, and then I found out, oh yeah, they still got my picture. I asked Aaron to take it off the Facebook, and then I found out, no, but they're still using it on their website. And I was like, I don't want to be the center of your organization. I don't believe in Quentin assaulting Dwayne Blair. I don't believe in all this sexual innuendo to the homeless. Don't associate me with your thing. I'm not your little spokesmodel. You're not paying me for. No, you like basically, and I wasn't being confrontational about the reasons why. I was just like, for personal privacy and safety reasons, I don't want to be like tracked and whatever. So when I found out, oh yeah, they're still using the same picture on the website, I ran into the dweeb who does I was like, I thought I already got this sorted out with Erin. I asked her not to use my image, and I think it was like, so I was like, oh hey, by the way, could you take my image off your website too? And like she was like, Happy Easter, and I was just like, don't assume I'm a Christian. And the fact that I pointed out the anti-Semitic stuff that was going on there with the like neo-Nazi segment of creepy Clatsop County, I never got any answer whatsoever. Like none. Like it was just like a non-issue to them, just like women. I mean, I guess. Or like, so Garth is coming at me like, you're trying to get this man shut down. And he's like, I'm like, since when? When would you show me? Show me. I'm saying, no, give me a meal. Give me a meal is not the same as shut it down. Some people say shut it down. Some people say it will be shut down. And some people say Ozark should resign. He should resign due to misconduct. And maybe that's the protest sign. Ooh, that would be cold. I don't know if he could take that. I think he might cry. He might go back on meth. He might already be back on meth. Yeah. I love this. Sylvana Imam is this Swedish rapper. She's like, I think she's, what is she, Serbian or Czechoslovakia, woman Slovakian, something like that. But Swedish culture. But she raps in Swedish. She has this crazy song called, I think it's Imam Cobain. And she was raised Muslim. And so she's basically saying Kurt Cobain is an imam. Which is just like apocalyptic Piscean energy, like. And she quotes from. I was always like freaked out. What does that song mean? Because when like a fashion show was using Nirvana's song "Rape Me," and I was like, "Oh, what does that song mean?" Like what? It's almost like the '90s were a time where nobody could even say that word or something. It was, and so she has this vocal segment of him saying, the announcer saying basically like, so I hear you care a lot about women or like women's rights, or like, how do you do that? And he's like, by writing songs like "Rape Me."
I'd skip last name. She'll never get it straight. I'm lucky. This is Edward Evelyn.
And whatever she's singing, like rapping in her Swedish, it's clear that she's like using his just his like simplicity of his explanation of his song to enunciate that he was like ahead of his time to recognize the suffering. That women endure, children endure, men endure too. Okay, should I try it on? I think I should, because this has been one boring podcast. You deserve a little crazy. So Let's check it out. And so the fun part are all the like slats from the knees. And then I think I like this part better to be like a wraparound.
I understand what's happening.
And there's like so many ways you can do it. And I liked it this way more than this way. So I've just been doing a lot of touch up. Or you can do it like you can do it like with the the button at the front. And then I thought about shredding these more, or I thought about doing like shred panels and like putting lace or like a crocheted tablecloth type of like really old fashioned frilly cotton lace effects, doily kind of looking, as sort of like a flounce, or like make it more like pleated. Because I was really digging the way these panels, this panel and this panel are the softer, more like brushed stretch denim, and then this is more like a classic Levi's denim. So there's like a different shade, but I loved how the paneling looks like that sort of like slit effect. Even one of the styles I tried was taking it like that and doing like a kind of like a thick rough sarong. Okay, I love it. It's like the only skirt I own now. I made it myself. One time I got like 25 skirts at the bins and I just immediately donated them to Right to Dream. So like one thing I keep thinking about, why am I so conflicted about all this monopoly on helping the homeless and exclusion and blacklisting and punitive treatment of me and like my friends by this cult leader dude? Is I've been helping the homeless since I was a kid. My mom literally had homeless families moving in with us when I was a kid. Like my church helped the homeless constantly. We had a horrible homeless crisis in Nashville in the 80s, Reaganomics. And I was trying to get into Food Not Bombs as soon as I could, and I was always like volunteering for like refugee resettlement or like whatever I could do to help someone in need who was starving or like hurting. Like we went to Mother Teresa's convent when we visited grandparents in DC for a second, but like just because Ozark puts a blacklist on someone, the thing he does is he actually sees people with talent, skills, or rapport, and he excludes them. People who are very intelligent, maybe educated, qualified, he's like, no competition. And when he picks on those kinds of people and prioritizes excluding them and like backstabbing them out of the industry, just to consolidate his power and his salary, it feels so fake because it's like the homeless actually need help endemically because of their situation. They don't need help because you're in a power quest. It just hurts. It hurts to see them being exploited like that. I mean, it is their welfare. I mean, that's Ozark's welfare, is his little gig, playing the way he plays, but burning so many bridges and causing so many bad feelings. I don't think it promotes longevity. I think it actually is a form of self-sabotage. And someone like me trying to be like, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that, you need to follow this law, that law. That should be like, tie your shoelaces, don't trip, dude. I'm not your enemy, I'm just saying don't trip. If you want your project to be successful, you have to like adhere to some basics. Best practices in business include non-retaliation, disability rights, non-harassment, etc. So acting like I'm the predator and the enemy. And I'm like, are they really so scared of me? Like, some of my homeless friends will be like, yeah, about half the people shit talk you and half the people like you. And I'm like, why am I even up for discussion? I'm a boring person. But I think what does make it interesting is because I just power played all these boys. All these boys who claim they're not man enough to stand up to Ozark, I just raced to the front of the line, got in the way, got in the middle of his rage, basically breaking up the fight between him and the homeless and all the homeless he wants to starve. And I'm like, I'm calling it. I just am frustrated at the lack of progress. I would have appreciated it if Bully could get their act together, like, I don't know, 7-8 months ago or whatever, whenever I filed my first complaint with them. Like the fact they take ages to get anything done. How truly governmental.
No, I said that road, not tablespoon. I can't throw that across my knees. I look like an imbecile.
We'll see though, maybe, yeah, it's sort of like, the thing I had to keep telling myself is, you don't know where you'll be over time, so let it play out.
Oh,
Give it time.
Mr. Rayfield somehow reminds me of a wolfhound that used to bark at my gate. One day I fussed back at him, and he rolled over to have his underbelly scratched.
I can't say I put Rayfield in that class myself, but you may be right. I wouldn't want to work for the man. Ruth is devoted to him, of course, but I can't quite see her tickling his tummy, can you?
Sure as she isn't married, attractive as she is. Perhaps she has other plans for us, though.
Oh, Major Paul Gray. You've got to help me too.
Excuse me.
What do you think? The green or the
Okay,
blue?
I think,
Come on, Rayfield, let's
is
go.
there anybody want me to say anything? Okay, bye.